Okay, so when it comes to fall bass fishing, we all know the by-the-book answers, which is that, bass change, the fall transition happens, the weather gets colder, they move to the back of the creeks, they chase bait fish, really their entire feeding behavior pattern changes. But as you can see today, I'm standing behind what I would call a relatively simple pond, which I think most of you guys out there fish, your residential ponds, your farm ponds. And so I'm gonna pose the question in today's video of, does the fall weather patterns, fall transition, whatever you wanna call it, does it actually have an effect, a real measurable effect on pond bass fishing? The short answer, I don't think so. But of course, as always, there's more nuance than that. My name's Tyler, and let's talk about it. Well, how's it going, everybody, and welcome back to Tyler's Real Fishing. My goal here on this channel is to help you guys become better bass anglers, no matter where you live in the country and no matter what type of bass species you target. My videos are for you, no matter if you're a bank beater, bass boat angler, anything in between. I want to help you guys catch more fish. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, hit that subscribe button to join Team TRF. Now, if you go to the YouTube search bar and search fall bass fishing or summer to fall bass transition, you're going to find a lot of helpful information.
The early fall transition.
Actually talk about some fall fishing.
Baits for fall fishing.
We're going to talk about the fall transition.
This beautiful fall day.
But the problem I have with those videos, and the reason why I'm making this one today, is because I feel like pond anglers are generally left out of those types of videos. Those videos are targeted, rightly per se, at big lakes, reservoirs, where they have a lot of the geographical features that actually allow for the whole ecosystem to move around as fall fishing suggests. But I got a question in my comments section recently asking if, in ponds specifically, the summer to fall transition is really any different. These videos talk about the summer in big lakes and the fall in big lakes being totally different. But when it comes to ponds, what do? How do you fish your pond in that summer to fall transition? Is anything really different? And so in this video, that's what we're gonna talk about. What you pond anglers go through in the fall. Is it any different than lake anglers? And of course, how you can catch more bass. Now don't forget, we have some awesome fish catches coming at the end of this video with an incredible fishing adventure on some topwater lures from this morning.
There's one. There's another one. Oh my gosh. Oh gosh.
So make sure you all stay tuned to the end to not miss that. But I say we hop into the summer-fall transition bass fishing teaching knowledge experience. So let's just say that in the summertime you caught them really good on a drop shot. Let's say you got a Corey pond, really clear water. Do you have to stop throwing that because now the other YouTubers talk about the fall changing from the summer, and so can I not throw the drop shot? It's getting all too complex. The answer is you can basically throw the same lures in the fall as you did in the summer, with one key exception which we'll talk about in this video. But I'm just telling you guys, people on YouTube complicate this way too much. For you pond anglers, the summer to fall transition really doesn't exist. If you listen to all those videos out there telling you that, in the fall, you get the cold fronts coming, the water cools down, the fish and the forage, and of course the whole ecosystem moves from the main lake to the secondary points, all the way back into the back of the creeks, occasionally stopping on points and humps and ditches. As a pond angler, you might be left thinking, well, what the heck is a point? What the heck is the back of a creek? What the heck is a hump? We don't have any of that in my pond. How does this apply to me? Like I said a minute ago, it really doesn't apply to you as a pond angler. If you're fishing a similar pond to the one that I have today, which is basically just a round bowl, you don't really have any of those geographical features necessary to cause bass movement. And so I'm gonna kind of give a general fall synopsis for those of you guys who might be new to bass fishing, don't quite know what's going on. You have, of course, cold fronts that start coming in the fall. Those are accompanied by wind, accompanied by storms, and really, I don't know how many cold fronts you have on average. I'm guessing you have, from summer to fall, you probably have 4 to 5 cold fronts, and then from summer to winter, you probably got, 8 to 9 or 10 cold fronts to go, from the hottest water of the year to some of the coldest of the year. And so it's kind of like a stair-step pattern in my experience. So you have the hottest weather, hottest water of the year, water temperature, air temperature, and then you have a cold front, kind of knocks it down a little bit. Then about a week and a half, 2 weeks later, you have another cold front. Sometimes they come quicker, sometimes they come slower. And with each one of those cold fronts, it drops the water temperature and thus slows down the metabolism of the bass until you have that really cold water and winter is here. That is the general summer to fall to winter transition. So what does it do to your ponds? Well, first off, you have to understand that due to most ponds, depth restrictions, most ponds out there are not quarry ponds. They're the ponds that I have, in front of me right now. Max depth is maybe 8 to 10 feet. Some ponds have deeper than that, but I mean, like, even if your max depth is 20, 25 feet, which a lot of farm ponds are, you still have a situation in which your water is going to cool down a lot quicker than it will on a big lake. I don't know the exact science on how that works. I just know that ponds cool down and heat up a lot quicker than lakes do. That's why you see the spawn a lot earlier in small, especially small dirty ponds, than you see in bigger lakes, because a bigger volume of water will take more sun or vice versa, more cold, more rain, to cool down or heat up that water. So your geographic features of the pond affect how quickly that water gets cold, thus how much cold fronts affect your fish. And so in lakes, we talk about how the cold front starts to slowly move the entire ecosystem, the bait fish, the bass, all the way into the backs of the creeks where the bass gorge on bait fish and bluegill, crawfish, and then work their way as fall transitions to winter from the back of the creeks all the way back to the main lake. But as a pond angler, you rarely have that type of situation where you have a creek coming in, and even if you do, it's usually really, really shallow. You might find a few of the fish that have pushed back there, but the creeks are hardly ever big enough to house the entire population of bass that live in your pond. And so where are your bass going to go? Let's just take the summertime, for example. If the bass in your body of water, your pond you're fishing in the summer, were underneath the lily pads, underneath the matted vegetation, and out in deep water, of course, trying to get away from that heat, that sun, that bakes the shallow water and makes it basically unlivable, that's where your bass are going to be. Deep water and underneath cover. Unless, of course, the early morning where they come up to feed, but for the most part, bass in the summer are going to be out deep, even in ponds. And so when it comes to fall, lakes, the bass move from shallow or deep, out deep on their ledges and such, main lake points, back into the creeks pushing shallow. But in a pond where your max depth is 10 feet, are they really going to go from like 10 feet to 6 feet? Like, is that really a deep to shallow transition? In my experience, no. They don't really have a transition time. The only thing that's going to happen is that you're deep fishing, when you're casting, making a long cast with a wacky rig or a big worm, maybe even a deep crankbait if you have a pond that's deep enough for that. The deep fishing is the only thing that's going to get a little bit worse. But like I said, if you have a pond like I have today, the max depth is 8 feet, and then it slowly works its way up to the bank. The bass can still be anywhere in the water column, anywhere from the bank out to the middle, the deepest section of the lake, just like they were in the summer. As a matter of fact, the only moving a bass is going to do in the fall is going to be moving from one grass patch that's dying off, because as the water cools down, the grass starts to die. Of course, fish don't want to be around decaying vegetation. They're going to move from one grass patch that's dying to another one that's still alive, maybe to a stump or a rock pile somewhere, or really any features that aren't affected by the cold. That's really what the bass are going to move around on. So maybe in the summer they were a little more consistent on that grass. In the fall, they might move around a little bit more. But just because you hear on YouTube anglers telling you in the fall you got to pick up a square bill crankbait, you got to pick up a chatterbait and a spinnerbait, you got to cover water, find where those fish are, that's not always the same. As a matter of fact, the one biggest tip that I have for pond anglers in the fall is actually to fish slower than you imagine you should. Not only are fish super exhausted of seeing the same lures all summer, kids are out of school, people just fish more in the summer in general, so of course your fish in your pond are going to see the same lures all summer long. They're sick and tired of that, but also, like I said, ponds generally cool down a lot quicker. So a cold front that maybe only 15, 20 degree cold front for 1 or 2 nights, it doesn't really affect your big lakes that much, maybe drops the water temperature 2 to 3 degrees in your big lakes. That type of cold front can drop the water temperature in your ponds significantly more, which will affect the feeding patterns and behaviors of your bass. And so in general, I'd say the fishing pressure along with those cold fronts can lend itself to a successful bite, but in my experience, that takes slowing down, which is definitely countercultural to what everybody on YouTube is saying about, speeding up in the fall, covering water. That is correct when it comes to fishing big bodies of water with fish that have large movements from one area to another. You do want to cover water because fish can move and they have plenty of room to move. But when it comes to ponds, they ain't got no room to move. The most they can move, like I said, is from one little area to the other, most of which are within the same casting distance. So as you move from the summer to fall transition, don't really feel the need to YouTube a whole lot about how to, catch fish in the fall in my pond. Most of the time, it doesn't really change. If you disagree with what I said today, please feel free to leave it down in the comment section below. I love healthy dialogue. Of course, there's nuances out there. There's people's ponds that are gonna, react a lot differently than mine here in Texas, but the one that I showed you guys in the drone shot that I have sitting in front of me, it's just a generic pond. There's not any sort of contour lines. There's really not any kind of, deeper structure. In this one, there's not even any vegetation at all. It's just a clean mud bottom. There's not a whole lot for these bass to do. No places for them to move from deep to shallow chasing bait fish. They're generally gonna do the same thing. So if you guys enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button. I say we hop back out on the water and see some really fun fish catches on the Whopper Plopper from this morning's fishing adventure. My name's Tyler, and we'll see you guys out there.
Oh, dang it. There's one. Yes. Let's go, baby. In the corner. That is not a bad one either. Not a bad one at all. Bring him up in here. Yes, sir. Look at that chunker right there, folks. Look at that absolute chunker on the plopper. Wow. That is a chunky, chunky bass. I don't want to get hooked, and I also didn't bring any pliers, so we're going to take this slow here. Heck yeah, brothers and sisters. That's what I'm talking about. Had to cover a little bit of water, but I just got 2 bites back to back in this corner. Could have been the same fish, could have been a different one. Either way, that right there is a healthy, healthy bass. Really thick. Actually has a bloody tail, so he might be a female spawning again. Sometimes they'll get confused in the fall with cold fronts and they'll spawn again. That right there, folks, looks like a second spawner. I'm gonna post that on my Instagram story. Thank you, friend. Gotta throw you a little bit. Heck yeah. Let's go, baby. There's one. There's another one. Oh my gosh. Wow. Wow. Fight him easy. That feels like a nice one, y'all. That feels like a good fish. And you might just have it hooked funky. No, that's a nice one. Gonna bring him down over here. Fight him slow, fight him slow. Come on, baby. Come on. Bring it up in here right now. Hey-o. Chill, buddy, chill.
I think I've ever seen a big one like this here.
That's the second one I caught in the last few minutes. Wow.
Wow.
That's a nice one. Early bird gets the worm.
Yeah.
Sorry, y'all, I would have been more animated with that fish, but there was a local watching me. He said that he had never seen one that big come out of here, so that's good to know that the locals don't even know about this spot. Yesterday? Oh, there's one. Hey, hey. That's a good one. That's a good one. About to be 3 bass. About to be 3. Bring it in here, buddy. Bring it in. Bring it in. Yes, sir. That's a nice one, buddy. You live on a good pond. These fish are heavy and they are hungry. Thank you, buddy. I don't know what the heck's going on, but these fish right now are shallow and hungry, and obviously they must not see a whole lot of ploppers because they are eating the snot out of this thing. Well, what it seems like is that the fish are not quite, spread apart yet. And now, as I said, fish in the fall in a lake don't really act the same as fish in the fall in most ponds. So I'm not saying these fish here are gonna completely split apart from the group and do their own thing. But I would expect a little bit more of that than what I'm seeing. Because my first 2 bites I got were in the same exact little tiny pocket, and then the next 2 fish that I caught were in the same little area of the second pond. So seems like they're still gathered together like they were in the summertime. It could just be, though, that's where all the bait fish are, and they're chasing that. So I'm gonna keep that in mind when I come back with the soft plastic. but still got about half the pond to cover. Oh, gosh. There's one. That was crazy. Man. Now, some of them are healthy and thick, but some of them are really, really skinny. Like this boy right here. Look at how skinny that guy is. That's a skinny bass. Why are you so skinny? And why your mouth all torn up? Probably from me. All right. That thing was about as shallow as dirt. So that just shows me that these fish are pretty dang shallow in here. I came here for a 100 ponds episode. I don't know if it'll drop. It'll actually probably drop coincidentally after I drop this episode, just timing wise. But I didn't do too well. I think I had 2 bites and lost 1. You might be able to notice that this entire time I've been making casts that are parallel to the shore. I am not standing here casting out. Maybe for one of the fish I did, but I was actually casting at a little grass patch on the other side of the pond. So it doesn't really count as casting out to the middle because I wasn't. I was target casting to the other side. Most of the time I'm walking with my top waters parallel with the bank here. I think where I got most of my bites, besides that last skinny fish down there, has actually been in a deeper area. So once I get back there, I'll kind of show you guys, hopefully you can see it, but the bank actually cuts in a lot deeper. So here it is a grass bank, and you can probably see right there, it's pretty shallow right off the bank. But where I caught at least those 2 fish, the 2 nicer fish, back to back, that area is a deeper cut off the bank. So that could be why those fish are sitting there and not over here. There's one. There's one. There's one. Big, 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 big. Gotta follow him. Gotta chase him. Yes, yes, yes. It's literally as soon as we got to the deeper area, I got a fish. Wow, that is so predictable. I love it. I love it. Heck yeah, sisters. Oh my goodness. Whew, whew, whew. That's fun. I'll show you guys right now that it's not a whole lot of a difference yet, but the bank does drop off another 6 inches or so on this side. And of course we have aquatic vegetation here. That is what I like to see. There's one. There's one. I knew we could get one more. Oh, and it's in the deepest section. Oh my goodness, y'all, that actually drops off considerably here. Bring it in. Hey. Once again, a skinny one. This fish would have been 3 pounds if he was his proper proportions. But still, really, really fun to catch fish. Moving shallow in the fall. You like it right there. That thing's a pancake, man. That thing is really shallow. That's what, 6 fish this morning? Ain't gonna complain about that. And y'all definitely can't see it now because the water's too dirty, but it drops off a solid foot from the bank right here. There's definitely a deeper cut. Heck, you can even see it. Once I get up here, I'll show you guys. I mean, you can see it just in the dirt itself. Look at that cut right there. That is an actual, like steeper cut into this wall here, which leads to, of course, deeper water right here. So if y'all are fishing your pond and you find, a certain slight geographical difference in the pond, by geographical, I mean, of course, topographic and depth and stuff like that. So if you guys at your local pond have some kind of even minute little geographic difference, oh my gosh, that's so many fish in one area. Holy cow. We have found them, y'all. We have found where the fishies are. That one is not big, that one is tiny. But I'm just saying, you gotta pay attention to what the bottom depth composition features look like around you, because that can clue you in on where fish are going to sit. That's why when I come back here in a few minutes with a different rod, with a little Texas rig or something on it, I'm gonna focus on this area right here. Let's see if this area over here, our little plopper corner where we caught like 4 fish at, let's see if there's any ones that want to bite the old paddle tail. And if we don't get anything here, at least we tried. Well, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that subscribe button. I want to teach you guys how to become better anglers, all while entertaining you and keeping you motivated to get out there and do what we all do, which is catch bass. So hit that subscribe button, dropping a comment and liking the video helps so much more than you guys even know. So if you're not big commenters, not big likers, you need to become one because it'll help grow the channel more than you even know. I appreciate all you guys, and we'll see you next time right here on TRF.